There he is.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Once again, this is Kris Thomas from Running Back Sports for the Culture. I'm here with a plethora of NFL fans and analysis. Please allow themselves to introduce. Whoever likes to go first.
We'll start in order. We get jumped on here.
All right.
I guess I'll go first.
All right,
Yeah.
All right. So, what's up, guys? My name is Juan, aka the One and Only. Former contributor for Inside the Hatches, guest host on the Running Back podcast with Kris, and currently a news producer out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Very nice.
Thank you.
My name's Jeff Bowers, as part of the Sports Narrative Network, at Sports Narrative on Twitter. We are in sportsnarrative.net is the website. Got a draft podcast. Been covering the draft for about 11 years now. Attended every draft. I mean, except for the last one where nobody attended, but been every draft for the last 10 years and do work for KK, 1310 and 96.7 AM or FM in Dallas, Texas.
And hey, everybody, I'm Shane Weston. Don't have a resume like these two gentlemen before me, just an avid football fan with a decent bit of knowledge to share.
Awesome.
All knowledge is good.
Awesome.
Knowledge.
That's great. But in the end, listen, in the end, we're all here for the same thing. We love football. And with the draft coming up within next month, we decided to do our first mock draft 1.0. So we decided to divide up the picks. So we're going to start off just first right off the bat. The Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. I'm the GM for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm just going to make this the most simple selection probably in the draft. With the first pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence from Clemson.
That seems to need no introduction, huh?
Yeah, I feel like that's lock and key. That's been their biggest issue for the last couple of years at that quarterback position. That's a no-brainer. He's the most polished quarterback in this draft.
You know, I have always been very wary of quarterbacks that have been labeled like the prodigal son or the savior of the sports, whether it was John Elway, whether it was Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck, but they all worked out for the most part. Trevor Lawrence just seems like the kind of guy that has all the intangibles, all the tools. I mean, going to Syracuse, I got to see him firsthand kick the Syracuse Orange's butt over in the Carrier Dome, so I know the kind of special player that he is. But one thing I will always question with him, with him is he a product of the Dabo Sweeney system? Was he helped by the weapons that he had at his disposal, which were T. Higgins, who were Travis Etienne, and a bunch of these great offensive tools that Clemson had? Is he a product of the system? For me, he's like every other rookie quarterback that comes in. He's got to prove himself when it counts the most, which is in the pro field.
All right. But first picks off the board, and now we're going to go.
You would not take him there, though, right?
Oh no, yeah, I'd still take him number one overall. I'm just saying, to me, I'm not trying to see him through the perfect, most polished prospect kind of guy that he is. I see him as a good potential franchise quarterback that I want to see make it through what every other rookie quarterback has to go through. You know, I'm trying not to get too bought into the hype.
Yeah, good call.
All right. And now with the second overall pick, the New York Jets are officially on the clock. And this is a really interesting pick because we don't know exactly like what's in the mindset for the Jets. Will they go quarterback? Will they try to, get more offensive weapons and try to, revive the Sam Darnold project? So, Juan, you represent the Jets. You're the GM. What's the pick?
Well, this is so interesting with what's going on. And ultimately, the main factor is what the Jets are going to do with Sam Darnold with regards to that. It was announced earlier this week that the GM, Joe Douglas, had announced that Darnold is officially on the trading block. So it's depending on what happens in the situation. But I'm going to assume that Darnold is traded. And Darnold's traded for, at minimum, a mid to early second round pick. If it's a late first round pick, that's a miracle. But right now, for the sake of this draft, it's a mid to early second. And with that being said, I'm going to use the second overall pick to draft Justin Fields, quarterback out of Ohio State University. What I love about Justin especially was because for the longest time, during the beginning of the 2020 season to the very end of it, he was advocated as quarterback 1B to Trevor Lawrence 1A. Not to mention, the guy is practically a younger, more accurate version of Cam Newton when you're watching him. I saw a side-by-side comparison of him and Zach Wilson by Daniel Jeremiah, and where they broke down both skills. And Jeremiah had said that while Zach Wilson executes much more skill at that position, Fields has much more talent as a pure passing and rushing and dual threat quarterback. So if the Jets with Robert Saleh can help mold Justin Fields into an ideal dual threat quarterback in the Kyle Shanahan system they're bringing into New York, I feel like by the end of it, Justin Fields will be one of the top quarterbacks in this draft in 5 years from now.
How much can we debate this? Here's my question. All right, I just got a couple questions here. One, how many dual threat quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl?
I'd say 3 so far.
Who?
Two. Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes are my dual threats.
But neither of those guys are run-first guys. Those are guys who are excellent passers who can run, right? I mean, Steve Young would count in that same category, right? Steve Young's a passer,
absolutely,
but he could run. Okay, so that's one. Two, do you have it? Okay, like you had mentioned here before the top, talking about the weak competition with Zach Wilson when we were debating it before we started, right? But when you saw Justin Fields play, I mean, granted, he was great in, that playoff game, whatever. But then when you saw him play Alabama, he gets rolled. When you saw him play Indiana and Northwestern, probably the 2 best teams on their schedule, he didn't look great, especially the 3 picks in that game. So my question is like, yes, he played better competition, but he didn't play better when playing better competition. So those are my biggest question marks on him. I think you're right in that he has the highest floor. Like Zach Wilson could be a complete total bust, right? Like he could get injured and break in half and be done. But he has the higher floor, but I think the lower ceiling. I think it's a safe pick. I don't think it's what the Jets will do, but I think it's the safe pick, and I think like 100% you're valid on making the call and going with the Ohio State quarterback.
I think that's an interesting one. Being from the New York area, I know how Jets management, they always tend to lean on these head coaches who are defensive minded because they want to bring back the Jets of old. They want to bring back that gangrene mentality. Going with based on how that assumption, I don't think they're going to want to bring in another quarterback. But if they do, Justin Fields does feel like the kind of guy that they would lean on as opposed to Zach Wilson. My only issues with Justin Fields, just as Jeff pointed out, is that he doesn't play up to the competition that he's playing against. He doesn't necessarily show up in the big moments like he should. Like when they played against Alabama, he barely made 50% of his throws. Not to mention, if you look at his tape, he's a very read first kind of guy. If that first read is not there, he tends to get panicky inside of that pocket, and then that's when he starts taking off. And I think at the next level, that's gonna be detrimental to him. Not that he can't unlearn some of that, but seeing as they're gonna stick him in there as the guy day one, it's gonna be a rough change of pace for him, not being able to throw to his first read every time.
Let me make one final note, and then we'll move on. They said the same thing about Justin Herbert when he came out, and that was more of detriment of the Oregon system than it was to Justin Herbert.
Agreed.
Number two, with Fields, especially when you're referencing the Alabama game so much, keep in mind 50% of that Ohio State roster was injured and missing on the field, as well as the fact that he was playing with cracked ribs on his left side, which is immensely painful at the same time. So how much can we attribute to loss in a support system and injury going against what is arguably an NFL caliber talented roster that is the Alabama Crimson Tide?
That doesn't explain the Indiana game, but yeah, point taken. I agree. And like I said, solid pick. I could very well see that happen. All right.
I like to pick.
I was going to say, you got 2 Jets fans on here, so we're both like, what? I mean, we're going to boo regardless. Like that's how we are
Yeah.
in New York, right? He knows.
Yeah.
The pick gets booed. It don't matter who it is.
Oh my
That's
God.
true.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Pick number 3. It's the Miami Dolphins. They're on the clock. And once again, Juan is drafting on behalf of the entire AFC East. So once again, what you got for the third pick?
Well, obviously, I don't think we were talking about this beforehand. We don't think that no one that here thinks Trevor Lawrence is not Trevor Lawrence. Tua Tagovailoa is going anywhere. Deshaun Watson is not coming to the AFC East anytime soon. Most likely, he'll be going most likely Denver or San Francisco is my likely landing spots for him. However, with that being said, they need to surround Tua with playmakers. They already got rid of the offensive coordinator that was limiting him in a conservative basis down in Miami and bringing in 2 co-offensive coordinators to try to manage the game. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But there's still weapons needed in this offense, particularly at wide receiver. And with the testimonial from Jalen Waddle and Devante Smith about how they prefer Mac Jones over Tua, while not detrimental, not exactly encouraging. So with that being said, I'm taking the true number 1 wide receiver on this board, Jamar Chase out of LSU.
Good call.
Yeah, I've got no issues with that pick. That is
no argument here. You're good. We're
yeah,
gonna find on
that's
pick 3. We're
that's
good.
cut and dry. That's their pick. That's their guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wide receiver 1 in the draft by a good margin.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, opt out, so we didn't really get a chance to really see him. So it's like, and more importantly, we all know like football, NFL is more like recency bias. So it's like because of what Devante Smith was able to do, win a Heisman, he's going to be fresh on everyone else's minds. But we can't forget how good Jamar Chase was in LSU, especially the years prior.
And once he learns to get off press coverage, man, that guy's going to be a monster.
It's also going to take Devante Smith time to develop the muscle tone that he needs to develop for this league. Remember, he weighed in at like 170 going into this season. He looks really skinny like for this game. So he's going to have to bulk up before he can really get those really good snaps.
And he refused to even be weighed at the Senior Bowl. You're like, come on, man. Yeah, I'm feel you on that. All right.
Number 4. The Atlanta Falcons is on the clock. Jeff is drafting on behalf of the NFC South. So, what you got?
Well, you left me my favorite pick in this draft, so I will happily take it. There's a lot of talk about, Matt Ryan and getting up there in age. They got a new offensive coordinator and Arthur Smith bringing in that Titans RPO type, West Coast system, wide system. I think Atlanta's going to turn the page. Generally speaking, new GMs mean new quarterbacks, and that means this pick is going to be Zach Wilson out of BYU. I think the ideal situation for him to land here because he can sit and he can learn under Matt Ryan for a couple of years. All of the questions you may have about being lesser competition and all of that all go out the window because the dude gets to sit, the dude gets to watch, the dude gets to learn from Matt Ryan, and then when the time comes, if they want to flip Matt Ryan, they can. And that dude steps into the role. I think he's ideal for that system with the mobility, the throwing off platform. Ideal pick, Zach Wilson, number 4 to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And what's best is
it's the perfect landing spot.
Yeah. What's great for the Falcons is like 2 great things for the Falcons. One, there is depth at the other 2 positions of needs that they have in this draft, which is offensive tackle and running back. So they can go ahead and wait out grabbing another big guy in the front lines in the 2nd or 3rd round, and in the later rounds find you a gem at running back. It could be in either one of the North Carolina running backs. Jared Patterson, severely underrated running back out of Buffalo. There's so many guys that you can choose from in this draft. So I like the move. Establish a new franchise QB, ride it out with Matt Ryan for another year or so, and see if you can trade the bloated contract the year after.
And how often are you picking 4th? One last point I would say on this: if Zach Wilson goes 2 to the Jets, like I said, as we kind of argued, I think this pick is Trey Lance and not Justin Fields, because I think Justin Fields is more of a ready-made project, ready to go. I think Trey Lance, dude, the guy, I mean, he's got all of it upstairs. He's just got to learn the physical parts of the game. He's got all the physicality in the world. I think this pick is Trey Lance if it's not Zach Wilson, for what it's worth.
Yeah, no arguments here. And we'll now go with the fifth pick, which belongs to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm drafting on behalf of the AFC North, with the exception of one pick. So the fact that, this is actually going perfect for me if I'm a Bengals fan, because the best offensive lineman still on the board, and I got a quarterback who's going into his second year fresh off an ACL injury. So with the fifth pick, I'm going Penny Sewell from Oregon to make sure that Joe Burrow comes back year 2 and his line side is perfectly protected.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think at the top of this draft, when we're looking at the best offensive linemen, I think Sewell and Slater are 1A, 1B. To be honest with you, I think Slater would have been an excellent pick either way if you have reservations on Sewell. But you got to protect your franchise guy. Burrow has already shown that he can lead this team and he can lead it well, but they got to keep him safe.
Question for Cincinnati: is there any inkling towards going Kyle Pitts here, knowing that you might be able to get an offensive tackle in like the top of the second, and you can get a tight end for your quarterback who is generational?
I'm just trying to,
that's a good question. I think the other guys are really solid offensive linemen, but I don't think they're going to anchor like Sewell or Slater can. Absolutely. And I think you cannot take that chance that you're going to get a B+ when you got an A+ right there.
Not to mention the fact that, since he low-key has a top 10 skill position unit and quarterback to go with, but none of it's going to matter. None of that connection with T. Higgins, none of that connection with Tyler Boyd, the running game with Joe Mixon and a recovering Joe Burrow. It's not going to matter if you can't protect or make time for any of these plays to develop. So Penei Sewell coming in on the left, if he can move into the left side, especially, would be ideal in protecting the blind side and setting up good plays.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to offensive line and trenches, that's a position you really don't want to play with, especially when you have a young quarterback.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. And now the sixth pick is Philadelphia Eagles are now on the clock. And honestly, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I know what everybody wants, because over the past 2 years, we missed out on, DK Metcalf. We missed out on Justin Jefferson. We missed out on Terry McLaurin. But I'm going to obviously we have Howie Roseman, who really has a checkered past when it comes to drafting. But hear me out. With the sixth pick, I'm going to go Patrick Surtain, cornerback from Alabama.
Fire Howie! Fire Howie! Fire Howie!
Boy, that'll get some boos up in the
that'll get you booed out of the building. The Eagles fans. If I was the Eagles GM right at this pick, Kyle Pitts is my guy. Zach Ertz is already on the fence with the organization because of, whatever happened offensively last season. So he's probably out of the door. They do have is it Dallas Goedert? I believe his name is.
Yeah, they have Dallas Goedert. He's got 1 year left.
He's solid, but again, 1 year left. I think because what we're seeing right now is Jalen Hurts is the quarterback of this team. He still has a lot of question marks with getting the ball downfield. I think Kyle Pitts, a nice short to mid-range target, is good for a young sophomore quarterback to rely on when he's scrambling out of the pocket. He doesn't have to look downfield. He's got that big guy standing right in front of him. But, I like Patrick Surtain. I'm an Alabama fan. So seeing him go top 10 I can't be mad at that,
I have to say, Surtain's not even my top corner in this draft. That actually goes to Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. I think he's a much more well-rounded corner overall. Yes. And Surtain, let's not forget, he played well for Alabama against Ohio State. Yes, good for him at the same time. But we've seen a lot of Alabama DBs not always have, success going into the post, particularly for Jets fans, especially if you can remember Jeff D. Milner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah. Stab me in the heart.
Right there. Him, the other Alabama cornerback we took in 2010. Can't remember his name though. Kyle Wilson, I think it was.
Yes.
Kyle Wilson, him too. So I am very hesitant when it comes to Alabama defensive backs. They're very hit or miss. If you hit them, they're all pros. If you miss, they're bust. So there's no in between. It's a very volatile pick here. I'm not liking it.
And then,
all right,
let me say this.
Hear me out.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
Okay, hear me out. As much as we talk about the lack of weapons that Philadelphia has, no one's talking about the defense at all. And I feel like our defense is a lot worse shape than what our offense is. Our top 3 players are all well over or either 30 years old or older. And outside of Darius Slay, we don't have a legitimate starting corner on the outside. Avonte Maddox is 5'8". He belongs either in a slot or the safety position. He's not an outside corner. Nicole Robbie Coleman is going to be gone. Craybon LeBlanc is not an outside corner either. None of the guys that we also have in the system right now is fit to start on the outside. Rodney McLeod's going to be coming back from an ACL injury. Jalen Mills is a free agent. We need somebody that Darius Slay was a solid pickup for us, and he did a comparable job, for what he was asked to do. But we need somebody on the outside because we're going in a division where we play guys like physical wide receivers like Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb twice a year. We're still in a conference in which we got to go physical wide receivers like Michael Thomas, DK Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins. I could just go on and on. We need solid corners, and I feel like Surtain, with his size, his ability to not be able to draw any single penalties, which was probably the biggest check mark for me in terms as a corner, is not being able to get calls on him. I think we need to reestablish the secondary that has completely gone to the wayside.
Man, 100%. Let me say I agree that. I mean, look, as an Eagles fan who watches every week, you've watched that second corner just get torched for 2 years now. So, man, I get it as a fan and as somebody who watches it, and you understand that is one of their biggest weaknesses. I have no doubt. Let me ask the question about the multiverse that I live in, which is, if I passed on Justin Fields and Fields gets to 6, is that your pick?
Me personally, again, this might be my bias speaking because Jalen used to play for Alabama. I think you got to give him another season under his belt. Yeah, he came in his rookie year. It was a little rocky, but there was a lot going on in that locker room with that organization, and I can't put all of that on him. I think he gets another season to get himself comfortable in this offense and work. So I still think that they go for a skill position regardless of what quarterback would still be sitting on the field.
Not to mention you'll be putting Jalen back in the Alabama situation that he was put in, where Tua took over the starting job.
Exactly.
So he'll either want to transfer out for another opposition, or not transfer. He'll want to be traded out of Philadelphia, a la Carson Wentz, and then you have another QB drama boiling in, and that's not what Eagles fans need right now.
No.
Yeah. Hey, we're a quarterback factory, but no, here's my thing. Jalen Hurts should definitely get the keys for at least the next few years. Make sure the offensive line is healthy, get the competent skills. Our wide receivers aren't terrible, but I think more so last year with Doug Peterson and his inability to, scheme up, wide receivers to get open. And this is what Nick Sirianni from Indianapolis is bringing, new concepts. I want to see more Jalen Reagor, going rub routes, getting the ball to his hands a lot faster. That's what I want to see. We got a bunch of speedsters on night, John Hightower, Quez Watkins. When they got the ball in their hands and they got open space, they had the opportunity to, make plays out of it. So as much as I like Justin Fields, at number 6, if Jalen Hurts wasn't going to be your guy, he would have been gone already. So that's why I'm
they definitely they don't trade. If they don't trade up, that their quarterback is gone if they don't trade up.
And that's the thing. I would say this about that if the Eagles are sitting at 6 and they want Surtain or Fairley or whoever, they're trading out. Put that pick up for auction, and San Francisco, New England, Washington, come get it. Right? Well, not Washington, but But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that pick goes up for grabs. So yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
It is
this
actually
might be pick Surtain, but it might be a pick 12.
It is actually really
Okay.
interesting that we say that the Jets are the most interesting pick situation in the draft. Eagles are a close second with what they're
absolutely.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna go to number 7, and Shane, you're representing the NFC North. So, what's the pick?
Yes. All right. So, knowing the history of the Detroit Lions as intimately as I do, I 100% expect them to botch this pick. But I think
that Packer bias, though. Is that the Packer bias?
It might be a little Packer bias, but if we look at their history, their top picks don't pan out as well as they hope. But I have a lot of faith in this pick. I'm going Jalen Waddle, University of Alabama.
Ooh.
So let's go. Let me explain this pick before. Kenny Golladay only played 5 games last season before he got injured. Normally, he is, I would say he's a top 20 receiver when he is healthy. I think top 20 is a fair thing to point out. The next best guys that they have on their roster after that, Marvin Jones-Drew and Danny Amendola. Both of them are expiring, and they're both on the other side of 30, with Amendola being 35 right now. They need depth. They need another solid, healthy target. Jalen Waddle is, I would say, he and Jamar Chase were, again, another 1A, 1B situation. He sat out last season. Was he the one that sat out? Yeah, he sat out part of last season. That's what let Devante Smith show how good of a wide receiver he really is in terms of separation. But I think Waddle, the bigger guy, he has a more pro stature, if you will. And I think if the Lions pass on him, they're gonna make it. It would be the worst situation if they pass on him at that spot at number 7.
The closest comparison to Jalen Waddle is Tyreek Hill with regards to his immense speed, good route running abilities, and overall his just ability just to outrun any defender that comes his way.
Exactly. They need a guy, especially now that they have Jared Goff coming into the system. And Jared Goff he is actually what I envision when a team goes 8-8 with their record. He's pretty good, but he's not great. Like, he'll get you some wins, but he's not gonna get you to 10 wins, not by himself, because he's just I'm gonna say average. Maybe he's slightly above average as a quarterback, but I feel like if you put more weapons around him that can get the ball in their hands and create more offense on their own, you get the ball to Waddle, he'll get you another 15 yards. It eases the pressure on Jared Goff to make these incredible throws that other quarterbacks can do.
I will say Jalen Waddle is an offensive coordinator's dream wide receiving weapon. He's fast, he's quick, and he can just get a little more size and a little more muscle on him. He'll be strong. And when it comes to one-on-one battles, and Anthony Lynn, when he was holding kind of like a pass first heavy concept over with the Chargers with Justin Herbert, I think we were great there with Detroit, and Dan Campbell being the kind of guy that he is in terms of overall organization. I can see the Lions possibly making a decent bid for playoff contention, if not a wild card spot, if they can get it together under this new regime. So, and the Waddle pick is a great first step into doing so.
Yeah.
Agreed. If you got Golladay on the outside and Waddle in the slot on the left-hand side, and that's a nightmare.
That is a matchup nightmare, and I think they may be able to imitate the same effect that Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs had a couple of years ago, where they were feeding off each other, because you can't necessarily overwatch one guy, because that other guy will slip through and get a good catch in.
Agreed.
The only thing now is establish. The only thing Detroit needs to kind of like well-round the offense in terms of skill positions. You need a power back. DeAndre Swift is a quick, swift receiving back that can really get into the open space, but you need someone that can truck through in the goal line to goal line situation. So that might be something they might need to address in the second round.
Well, they could always sign Adrian Peterson back.
Oh, I want AP. I want AP to go to the Packers. Just full circle it.
Get him off. Touch him off.
Yeah, and I think one of the forgotten things about that, Detroit offense, if Jalen Waddle does come there, is also Pro Bowl tight end TJ Hawkinson as well. So with now the 8th pick, the Carolina Panthers are on the board. And what do you got the Carolina Panthers taking?
Man, if the draft breaks like this, the Panthers are absolutely dancing to the front of the stage. There's a couple of things here. One, I think it's quarterback, right? I think they're going to jettison Teddy Bridgewater. Sounds like Washington might be his destination. So you're looking quarterback first. I got 2 of them on the board. Obviously, they had Mac Jones at the Senior Bowl. They like Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is going to be a, nice, solid type of guy. Those are the anticipation, all of that. But if you're telling me Trey Lance is going to fall all the way to 8, man, I am going to sprint to the front of the room. Trey Lance, the guy has been prepped at North Dakota State with, he calls his own protections. He calls his own he's reading the defense. He does all of those things. The thing that about Trey Lance he still needs is 1, better competition, and 2, that ability to just be consistent with mechanics. Both of those things can be taught. You've got Joe Brady teaching him. Absolutely, man. Give me Trey Lance to the Panthers.
Yeah, I feel like that's a no-brainer for them. He's got everything he needs to excel at the next level. And I know it's early to believe that the Panthers will be moving from Teddy Bridgewater already, and I feel like last season wasn't really a fair enough shake at the position, but everybody's moving through quarterbacks right at this particular stage super fast. Like you're getting your 1 year, maybe not even the whole year, and if you can't impress these guys, they're going to move on from you. I think Trey Lance comes in here, and he's probably getting the starting job around between week 6 and 10, just like Tua did last year through Ryan Fitzpatrick.
There's a weird saying that a mutual friends of Kris and I always says that when you can't ever explain something, you can just say it's a feeling. It's a feeling that like you're just certain about it, you just can't explain it. And to me, that's kind of what I see with the pairing of Trey Lance and the Carolina Panthers. Honestly, for me, this reminds me a lot of like. In terms of fit, it reminds me a lot of the Josh Allen to Buffalo fit back in 2018. Something about this connection just makes me believe that it's going to work, especially with Matt Rule being a pretty good offensive mastermind with what he has to work with. Not to mention the fact that that Lance is going to have some good weapons to work with down there. If you really think about it, you got a top 5 wide receiver duo with Robbie Anderson as the speedster and DJ Moore as like down the middle threat, who, by the way, is the only player over the last 2 years to have 1,200 scrimmage yards in back-to-back seasons.
Nice.
And we don't know what's going to happen to Curtis Samuel and if he's going to be traded or not, because while he is a very versatile weapon, his contract is coming up soon, and he is starting to get a little bit up there in terms of age and like the mid to late 20s. And with the return of Christian McCaffrey, he's going to have all the support he needs in a talented talented rushing game. The defense still needs work, particularly in the middle at linebacker, but that can be addressed later in the draft.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. And with the 9th pick, the Denver Broncos are on the clock, and Jeff is also representing the AFC West. So, Jeff, what you got for us?
Once again, if I'm Denver and the draft is broken like this, I am pretty ecstatic. Now, the one thing I would love if I'm Denver to fill here is if Von Miller's walking, and obviously a little off-field troubles, that type of stuff, I would love to go pass rusher here. But there are no pass rushers in this draft worth this pick. And so that means I got to go to my second best need. They cut A.J. Bouye in the offseason, even though he had a pretty nice year last year. Got to look at cornerback. Surtain is off the board. Go ahead and give me my number one corner, as Juan said. Give me Caleb Fairley, 6'2", 197. The guy is an absolute just man-up matchup nightmare. He can just he just takes away a dude. He just erases him. He's he's still raw. He still has some issues. He still has, tackling's not exactly great, but then you don't ask Deion Sanders to tackle. Not saying he's Deion Sanders, but you know what I'm saying, right? You're not asking him to set the edge. You're asking him in that Vic Fangio system to say, take this guy and make him go away. And that's exactly what Caleb Farley will do for you. I think it's an absolute great pick. I think it's a great match there. Give me Farley at 9.
It's almost like as if you're describing him as like the next Darrelle Revis.
I mean, I don't know if I'm that high on him. I mean, dude, Revis, you're talking the holy ground here with the bottom two guys on the screen. But, I mean, Farley is absolutely a guy that I can say, take away this part of the field, and that happens. And I think he's going to be great. I think as he gets even stronger and better, and we don't know, and that's the other thing, we haven't seen him in a year. So we don't know what he's been working on or what's been happening. But if that guy's been putting in the work and doing this offseason stuff, man, there's no question he's my number one corner. Surtain, we talked earlier. Surtain is like the really solid guy. Like, he's smart. He anticipates. His daddy was an NFL cornerback. He's got all of those smart skills, but the physical skills aren't quite as there as I would want. Caleb Farley's the opposite. The physical skills are there in spades. I need him to learn how to be an NFL cornerback, and I think he'll pick it up very quickly.
Okay. Let me pose this question for you. Like, let's just say in an alternate reality, let's say Trey Lance actually does make it to 9. Are you and if you're not sold on Drew Locke, but Caleb Farley is also there, would you then draft Trey Lance, or would you still go Caleb Farley and give Drew Locke another year?
Honestly, I mean, I think the Broncos, in their own mind, might be tempted to take Mac Jones here. Like, if Elway was running the show, Mac Jones would be the pick. I mean, look, we saw Paxton Lynch. We saw the Broncos will take some stupid-ass gambles on quarterbacks. So I'm with you. But fortunately for Denver fans, John Elway is not running the show anymore. So therefore, I think you're going to make the right choice here. Look, I think they're still all in on Watson. I think they're going to be all in on several quarterbacks. I think at worst.
Yeah, I definitely think they go for a veteran.
Yeah, assuming Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't retire today, I think it's going to be, there's a chance they bring in some competition for Drew Locke. I mean, the dude led the NFL in interceptions, but I think here Caleb Farley makes it there. You got to make that pick.
Am I allowed to say, am I allowed to say bleep worthy things on here, or is it not that kind of show?
Just, you can say ass.
Oh no, I'm not gonna say ass. So the nickname for Drew Locke up in Denver is Horsecock Locke, because he's such a daring individual that takes risks down the field, and we've seen it. And keep in mind, Drew Locke, when he came in, no one expected him to be a polished product. He's a developmental quarterback that needed a couple years to get used to this league.
No doubt.
And he only started 5 games his rookie year. He was on and off the field with injuries his second year. I think this is the year. It's kind of like a Sam Darnold evaluation kind of thing. You gave him 2 years of excuses. This is where it all has to come together. The weapons are there. The defense is slowly building back up, especially when you get a shutdown corner with Caleb Farley. I don't think you bring in. I don't think, even if Trey Lance was on his board, I would not draft him with the Broncos. All right, Drew Locke still has to prove something here. Bring in competition. Maybe Mitchell Trubisky, if you feel like that's going to be able to push him further. But overall, you kind of stack the cards in a way that goes in Locke's favor. But if he doesn't pull it all together coming into this year, 2022 might be the year in which the Denver Broncos start looking for a new signal caller.
Word.
Great. All right. We're now with the 10th pick, and that belongs to the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to be drafting on behalf of the NFC East. And don't worry, I'm not. Yeah, we can all boo. And Cowboys fans, don't worry, I'm not going to shaft you. I'm not going to draft Drew Chrisman, punter from Ohio State, with the 10th pick. I'm going to actually give you guys a fair shake.
That's good.
Yeah, so if I'm Dallas and offense looks fine, depending on whether or not Dak Prescott comes back, you still got 3 legitimate wide receivers. You got a solid tight end. Everything, you pretty much got everything that you need.
Some question at O-line.
Big question on O-line. And the defense is a major work in progress. You still got young corners. So with this pick, I'm gonna go, and this might hurt Giants. Well, this may hurt people with contingents with the offensive line. I'm gonna go Rashard Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern.
Yep. I think that's a perfect pick. I think this pick has two effects. One, they stopped the Giants from getting Slater, and I know for a fact the Giants would have wanted Slater, no questions asked, at number 11 if he was available. And it starts to get Dallas Cowboys back to that strong offensive line that allowed their running game to really extend the game for them and keep them in control. And that's when they play their best football, when they can run the ball down everyone's throats.
Yep.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of questions at other positions, but I think you don't let the Giants get a chance at Slater to make Saquon Barkley better. So you take him now and make sure that they have to go in a different direction.
This is the reason all the teams in the NFC East are all 8-8 every damn year and all hate each other, because the Eagles took who the Cowboys want in Surtain. The Cowboys drafted the Giants want, and you just watch the Giants go and draft through Washington. It's like
exactly. That's exactly what's happening.
They're cannibalizing each other, man. Because I guarantee you, that's the pick.
Yeah.
I'm good. You addressed a really big need here for the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't think it's the biggest need, in my opinion. Again, offense rules the game, but if we can remember one thing is that the fact that the NFC East is terrible. It is absolutely awful.
It is.
and one unit in particular that from outside of Washington that always seems to be doing terrible in this specific division is the defense. And we saw how bad Dallas got last year. We saw it was terrible. Just played awful. So, and for me, I'm not too crazy about the linebacker options that they have currently right now. Jalen Smith set to be a free agent, is going to be demanding some good money. I don't think he deserves it. I think you let him walk.
Whoa. Jalen Smith's got an extension. He's got lots of money coming.
But you can still cut him. You can still cut him with a minimum cap hit. And also,
that's true.
You're talking about Leighton Vander Esch going to be a free agent, because Jalen Smith's got an extension.
That's what. Sorry,
Yeah,
I often confuse them, because for me they came in as elite touting defenders who played well on the defense but have regressed significantly over the past year or so. So I'm not confident in the linebacking core. I would have wanted to see the linebacker out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah, over with the Dallas Cowboys. Really shore up that middle of the defense.
Do you have Wu over Micah Parsons?
I do. I really do. Because I just feel like Jeremiah has much more of good stretch and athleticism than Micah does.
Now, the thing about him is he's like 220 pounds maybe. So, he's absolutely that prototypical cover linebacker. Love the kid. I mean, we'll talk about him later. But, and I think he'd be a great fit in that system. Let Jalen Smith maybe go play some strong side linebacker and get the hell off the field mostly. But at the same time, like I said, you got Parsons, you've got Wu there. But, I think they've already sunk that cost and realized it's the same GM for the last 25 years. He doesn't like admitting mistakes, and I think the pick is right here, and that Slater is a guy that you can put in there, and then eventually maybe he becomes your right tackle and Lyle Collins switches to left or whatever. I think that's what happens.
And you know what also helps out a very bad defense? Offense that stays on the field. If you give Rashard Slater that running game with Zeke, LA could possibly give you 6-7 minute time possessions on offense. It alleviates a lot what the defense is able to do.
Through that.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. And number 11 is the New York Giants. And they just saw their possible pick just got taken from them. So, if I'm the Giants and I saw, our offensive lineman, got taken because, Dallas just lost their pick to Philadelphia. And I'm looking at this board. You know what? I'm gonna go because he's fallen this far. So I got the Giants right here taking Devante Smith from Alabama.
Good call. That is a great. I was about to ask you what your board looked like, and whether you have Pitts or Devante Smith there, I think it's a great pick.
I think it's an
Yes.
amazing, a really good pick right here. Sorry to interrupt, Chris. You want to go first?
Golden Tate's gone. So, and neither Sterling Shepard or Darius Slayton is number one options. So even still, then you can have Devante Smith just be on the field with all three of them at the same time. Evan Ingram at the tight end position, Saquon Barkley, and Daniel Jones, who more or less still the jury's still out for him, but he's pretty much below just an average starter at this point. But surrounding him with those plethora of weapons for a full season. Hopefully this season they get like a full, training camp all season where all those guys can work. And really, this is really the last opportunity for Daniel Jones to truly show himself as, this franchise, as a franchise quarterback. You got a legitimate number one potential wide receiver if he puts on the weight in Devante Smith. Good compliment. And now, because Devante Smith is going to be a future number one, Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard are complementary wide receivers to be able to feed off of that. Evan Ingram's also going to be getting some matches as well if he's able to hold on to the ball. Saquon Barkley's coming back. So this Giants offense is going to be lock and loaded for, the 2020 season after a really good showing from their defensive special teams last year under the first year of Joe Judge.
That's true. I will say that because of the way this is shaking out, and I think we're trickling effect from the Eagles' first pick, taking who the Cowboys wanted, Cowboys taking who the Giants wanted. So now we landed Devante Smith at 11. I didn't see him going here for some reason. Not a lot of people are okay with him. He's a smaller guy. He's like 180 pounds soaking wet. So a lot of people are out on him, even though he has the separation ability that a lot of guys, even at the pro level, can't get. He's a guy who will get past you, and before you even realize, he's 15 yards behind your best defender.
Yep.
What?
He's Marvin Harrison.
Yeah,
Yes.
He is a guy. He's a guy you can build your receiving core around. He's that guy you're like, you know what? The opposing secondary has to double team this guy, and somebody else is going to slip open because he is that deceptively fast.
It's a great pick. I'm not going to argue with it, but I took a step back for a minute, looked at my draft rankings right here, and I think the New York Giants, they took best player available in this year draft position, but there's still a need on that offensive line that they need to address, especially in the interior. And I would have liked to see Elijah Vera Tucker, the guard out of USC, be taken over there. Instead,
I had Vera Tucker up here as well.
The Giants need to learn from their New York counterparts about developing a quarterback, and it's protecting him as much as you can. And the only way you can do that, especially in a division filled with good pass rushes on the interior, you got to shore up the middle of that line. And
I will say, there's a lot of guards and centers in the second and third round of this draft. So, I mean,
that's true.
I was about to say that.
Yep.
Yeah, you got Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, John Myers. Plenty of guys that are definitely going to be able to make that pick worth it. All right, now number 12. It's the San Francisco 49ers on the clock. And once again, back to back for me. I'm not going to spend this much time on it. I know exactly who I'm going to get. I'm going to get cornerback J.C. Horn.
Ooh, wow.
So I actually had him going to the Cowboys because Farley and Surtain were taken already. I thought he was going to be the one that jumped up and get taken right away because their secondary is absolute garbage. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad at J.C. Horn going here. There's a lot of questions in San Francisco at the quarterback position, whether they're going to cut Jimmy Garoppolo, get out of his contract now, and play. I forget their backup's name, who played pretty decently while he was hurt. But this helps them out in a tough division because I think that NFC West is one of the toughest divisions in all of football. All four of those teams.
Probably it is the toughest.
Yeah, I would say right now where each team is at, any of those teams could win that division and take that playoff spot with two more teams entering the playoffs at 6 and 7.
Yeah.
This is, for me, J.C. Horn. He is, like, just on measurables alone and playing ability, the ceiling is Jalen Ramsey. He's big. He's physical. He's the same size as Ramsey, even 6'1". So that's the ceiling. I'm just like the bottom though. Like, he played in South Carolina. That's a no joke SEC school down there. No doubt about the competition going on. I'm just still a little hesitant of what he can do against the quicker receivers out there in the NFC West. Yes, size matters, but can he keep up with a lot of them? Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods with the Los Angeles Chargers, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett on the outside, especially. Not to even mention what the Cardinals are bringing with DeAndre Hopkins. So, like, it's gonna be a tough division for him to function in. Again, the ceiling is Jalen Ramsey. I can't tell what the floor is here, though.
Right. No, I agree. It's a risky pick, but I mean, the guy is absolutely, again, we talk about that just lockdown type of corner. You know, I don't necessarily need him playing in space. I need him absolutely just locking it down. And I mean, again, it's a very solid pick. I think the way this board is broken with those cornerbacks going high, I want to ask everybody this question before we move on to the next one, which is, who's your next corner on the board? And where is he? As everybody scrambles to the computer, who's the next corner you got on your board?
I don't have not anybody I take in this first round. Maybe, and this is Packer bias because of where we're at in the draft and knowing the history of how the Packers draft. Asante Samuel Jr. would have jumped up my board at that position. But again, at top 15, absolutely not.
But yeah, we're talking a full tier down for sure.
Okay, yeah, no. If the next, he's my next guy off the board. If I have to pick a defensive back,
I would have to go Northwestern product, Greg Newsome. I think he'd be a pretty good. I
like him. I like him too. I think him and Asante Samuel Jr.'s game are very similar to one another. They have good agility. They both rotate their hips when they're in pursuit of their guys. They're really solid.
Yeah, it's just those 3 inches that make the difference for Newsome. It's being 6'1", not 5'10".
Yeah,
exactly.
Kris, who you got next?
Honestly, it was a tie between Asante Samuel Jr. and Iffy from Syracuse.
Oh yeah, Ifedi Melifonwu, yeah.
I love it. Him and Andre Cisco are the most underrated, or one of the more underrated DBs in this class. Cisco, I think, went out too badly with that bad injury he suffered in warmups last year. He's still rated as a top 4, top 5 safety in this draft. It's just a matter of where to take him.
I think the only other guy I've got in that group, and again, we're talking top of the second round for these guys, or bottom of the first, is Eric Stokes, the Georgia kid, who just ran the 4.24, whatever the hell he ran at the fake combine.
Oh yeah, I saw that yesterday.
I missed it.
I think we'll definitely have a long time before we talk cornerbacks again.
Yeah, listen. And if Al Davis was alive, Eric Stokes would have been a Raider by now.
You know, I'm picking 17. Watch out now.
Just win, baby. All right, now the 13th pick. The Chargers are on the clock. So, what you got for us, Jeff?
Okay. I had for every mock draft I would do for the Chargers, I'm going O-line here, right? They got to build up some O-line.
Yeah.
They need help on the interior. You know, Feeney's been a bust of a pick. They're losing their center. You know, I would be taking Elijah Vera Tucker here. That would be my pick, as a guy who can play guard, who can flip to tackle if I need him to. He's a great player. I love the versatility and all that. But if you're telling me on this board that the guy I basically have almost 5th on my board is still available, and Kyle Pitts, and I can get a young, dynamic weapon for a guy, for a young rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback at a Herbert, man, Hunter Henry's a free agent. Virgil Green is gone. Dude, go get me Kyle Pitts. I will take Kyle Pitts, and I will just not even apologize about it. I'll fix my O-line later. Give me that, again, generational weapon.
Next up, Hunter Henry.
I gotta look at this. Like, I think it's a good move, especially because I think like the biggest need that they're gonna have in this draft is edge rusher, with Melvin Ingram possibly leaving in free agency. But
Also agree.
this isn't a strong draft class for pass rushers. So I like the pick right here. Right here, I still would have hoped that you would have taken that guard out of USC, but for now, Kyle Pitts, what a steal at 11.
Yep.
Yeah, I have no issues with that. Like you said, if Kyle Pitts wasn't sitting here at 13, it would have absolutely been Vera Tucker. But you can't pass that up. You get 4 years with a generational tight end. Now you don't have to pay Hunter Henry a dime.
Exactly.
That's too easy of a pick.
Yeah. All right. So I'm glad we're all in agreement. Not much fanfare for that. All right. With the 14th pick, the Minnesota Vikings are on the board. So, Shane, who you got going to the Purple People Eaters?
Now, see, now that we're hearing this midsection, there's a lot of guys who can jump where they were originally projected. They need help on defense. They absolutely cannot miss a defensive player here. It's question of who. Micah Parsons is the best linebacker in this draft, and I feel like he is probably their best option. But I also think that they're interested in Gregory Rousseau. They want more of a pass rushing kind of guy. And even though we didn't see anything of him this year, I think that he's been building himself up, with his during this drafting process. But again, I think Micah Parsons is too good of a player to pass up if he's still sitting here now. So I'm gonna take Micah Parsons to the Vikings.
Oh, Micah Parsons, huh? You did go linebacker. Wow.
Yeah, I went linebacker. He's just too good to let him slip any further. If so many teams didn't need a quarterback, he's easily a top 10 pick.
Any worry about the off-field stuff? Hey, by the way, Kris, he's up in Philly. You hear any off-field stuff on this guy?
Yeah, it's not great.
Nothing worth mentioning.
I mean, it's more just it's not that he was directly involved, or like it's alleged that he wasn't directly involved, but it is a concern. But if you're in the late teens and he's dropped this far just because of that, I mean,
and there's reports that he will continue to slip further in a lot of people's minds because of that off-field issue, and that's a real possibility. But I think the Vikings they saw the immediate impact of the Bears defensive unit when they traded for Khalil Mack. Mm-hmm. And I'm not comparing Micah Parsons to Khalil Mack, but I think they want somebody who can have a similar effect. They want a guy who can come in day one and cause so much disruption that they keep they can keep these guys out of the game. If they want to hold guys to under 28 points, because it'll make it easier for Cousins to win if he doesn't need to throw up to 35 points at any given time.
I like your take on addressing the defense. I would have wanted to address the secondary here, because the Vikings had one of the worst secondaries in the league last year. I think gave up more than 250 passing yards per game around that edge. And while we were talking about that, maybe a corner wasn't exactly like a first round heavy depth after the last three corners were taken off the board, the Vikings would have had to reach either way, and this is where I think Newsom would have had to go.
Yeah,
that's fair.
All right,
that's fair.
All right, so the New England Patriots are on the clock. Juan, since you're drafting on behalf of the AFC East, who you got?
Well, look, I played a little bit with the fact that the Patriots need wide receivers. It is brutally obvious how much they're missing at the pass catching position. Julian Edelman is an aging slot back, and that's a oxymoron in and of itself. N'Keal Harry's a bust as a first rounder. I've seen it enough times to know that I can move on from him pretty easily. But it's also Cam might not come back. And with Cam not coming back, there's a glaring hole over in the quarterback position. And what am I supposed to do? Go with Jason Stidham?
Jarrett Stidham, yes.
Jarrett Stidham for the rest of 2021? I don't think so. I'm not doing that either. So it's quite a conundrum. So I'm going to assume, and I'm assuming that the Patriots, Bill Belichick's going to do the same thing he's always done, which is not kind of play cool in free agency. But he's not trading away this pick. And I think they'll find a solution for wide receiver in free agency somehow. I don't know who it's going to be. It's not going to be Allen Robinson. It might be Juju if they can nail him down somehow. So I'm letting the Patriots take Mac Jones, a quarterback out of Alabama.
Well done.
Well done. I feel like that's pretty solid. Mac Jones is drawing a lot of comparisons to a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo, which fits into the Patriot way. That's Jimmy G was the guy that Belichick really wanted to keep. You know, the management wanted Brady. They forced his hand in trading him to get value out of him. But if you can get a guy who is built the same way as the guy you wanted to be your successor, you can't pass that.
You're bearing the lead here too. He's actually had comparisons to Tom Brady. Also in the draft process
if you're gonna go that way, it would definitely see that. And at the same time, even if the Patriots decide to bring Cam Newton back for another season, you know, now that he's past the COVID scare and all of that stuff, Mac Jones will at some point get snaps under center in game, probably later in the season, maybe around week 12, just to get his arm into situations. And I think Belichick and what's their OC's name again?
Josh McDaniels.
I think Mac Jones is the type of guy that Josh McDaniels would want to mold to being the guy, because we don't know how much longer Belichick is gonna be the head coach there. Josh McDaniels is waiting for his turn patiently, and I think Mac Jones, Josh McDaniel, that's the combo that we want to see in the future 5 years from now.
Not to mention, the biggest knock with Mac was that they don't know whether he was actually talented or it was the immense amount of talent he had at Alabama that was supporting him with Waddle and Naji Harris and Devante Smith. So going into New England where you have none of those, it's going to be the ultimate test into seeing whether he is truly a franchise quarterback or not.
Let me ask this. How high is Mac Jones going to get drafted? Like, we're not doing trades. He makes it to 15. This is a quarterback needy team. But we know teams are going to move up. We know, San Francisco we talked about. We talked about the Patriots. We talked about Washington. You can even go down the list if you want to talk New Orleans and some of these other teams. How high do you think Mac Jones actually gets drafted in this?
No, I believe this is as high as he can go. I don't think any of the teams in the top in that top 10 where we placed all of those quarterbacks, I don't think any of them would take a chance on Mac Jones, and that's the kind of guy Belichick goes for. I don't see it. I think everybody that took
I think Carolina at 8. I don't think if the top 4 or those top, obviously we all forget Trevor Lawrence, but the other 3 guys go. Yeah, and I think Carolina at 8 could easily. We talked about it. Denver at 9. I think it's a possibility.
I don't think Mac fits that Matt Rule system down there. No, I don't think he's mobile enough to fit that system.
I think even if we flip quarterbacks, like say Wilson went to the Jets, Justin, I would have seen Trey Lance go to the Falcons, and Justin Fields falls to the Panthers. I still don't see any situation where Mac Jones is not the 5th quarterback off the board, and he is not in a team that is under 10.
Unless you saw something out of Peyton Ramsey, out of Ian Book, out of Kellen Mond that you liked, Mac Jones is going to be definitely the next QB off this list.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like I said, I think it's top 10. If you guys want to put some Bovada bets on it. I'll take. There will be 5 quarterbacks in the top 10 of this draft. They don't deserve to be.
Okay, maybe. Okay, the only other scenario where I could see. Oh, sorry about that. The only other scenario I could possibly see if Dallas is for sure Dak Prescott's not coming back, and you're not sold on Andy Dalton. Maybe I could see Mac Jones go at number 10. Maybe, but outside of that, 15 in New England makes 15 is ideal for him.
All
right. And now number 16, the Raiders are on the clock.
Nope. Arizona.
Jeff, what you got for us?
Nope. Arizona's 16.
Oh, Arizona?
No, we're at Arizona at 16.
Oh, 16? Oh, all right. Hold on, let me get to the board. All right.
Don't take my guy. If I need to run up to the front of the room, you pass. I'm doing it.
Wait.
All right. With this pick, it's going to be either offense or defensive line. Kyler Murray has got sacked 75 times over the first 2 years of his tenure, and you're letting Hassan Riddick, who is going to leave in free agency, and you just got J.J. Watt, and you have a bunch of old pass rushers, so you're going to need somebody to go into the future. However, I'm going to go the safe routes. I'm going to go offensive lineman. I'm going to go Elijah Vera-Tucker, guard from USC, to shore up that offensive line for Kyler Murray.
Very solid. I like it. I think there's a possibility here. Obviously, you're letting Patrick Peterson go, but the cornerbacks are all gone, as we talked about earlier. I think J.C. Horn would be a perfect fit here if he made it. I think you talked about edge rusher Chandler Jones getting up in age, but you signed J.J. Watt, so that's going to help with the pass rush. So yeah, I think your next best bet, you're looking right there, and without the top wide receivers, if one of those top wide receivers fell this far, great. But I think that's a great pick.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Right.
Who do we take just now?
Vera-Tucker.
Elijah.
Oh yeah, that's a solid pick.
I've been preaching for offensive guards to start taking early in this draft, and while I applaud the Cardinals for doing that because they do need to the whole reason that they got Kyler Murray in the first place was because he was mobile and could work with a bad offensive line.
That's true.
However, if it's true that Hassan Reddick is not going to be there anymore, again, I would have loved the replacement for him at a cheaper option. And like I mentioned before, I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah would have been a great fit for that system and that defense. Would have been a great plug-in for Hassan Reddick.
Yeah. Also, before we get off the Cardinals, Arizona, please move Isaiah Simmons back to linebacker. He's not a safety.
Please.
Well, and
please, God.
Because I think Isaiah Simmons and Koramoah are really good comps, right? Like they're linebacker, safety, hybrid, does everything. And it really felt like Arizona didn't know what to do with him last year.
Yeah. No offense to the Cardinals organization for trying to use him in that hybrid role. The guy is 6'4". Put him in the middle of the field. No one's throwing over his head. I promise you. They gotta go around him. They're not going over his head because he can jump out. He can jump with the best cornerbacks.
And the dude showed some pass rush at Clemson too. Like I said, he's your Hassan Reddick fix, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a great
pick. And not to mention the guy can run too. So it's like if you need him to cover those top tight ends, he's your guy also. Just get him out of that safety spot.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Then number 17. So about that. Now the Raiders are officially on the board.
Now the Raiders are on the board. Vegas. So I need some glitz. I need some glamour. I need.
You need some gritty grinders.
You look at that team. The defense was absolutely dreadful last year. The offense really wasn't that bad. Derek Carr had a pretty decent season. They had all those wide receivers. You're losing Aguilar, but everything else worked pretty well except for when Jacobs got hurt. The line's decent, though there's talk about trading Trent Brown. I think I got to fix defense. And for me, the biggest whiff that they had last year, they went out in free agency. They spent big on linebacker. It didn't work. Corey Littleton was not the guy he was in Green Bay. Everything else was Cardinals, yeah. Or no, the Rams. He was with the Rams.
He was with the Rams and the Steelers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Either way, he wasn't the guy they wanted to be. Yeah, he came from the Rams, and yeah, it just didn't work all together. I think you got to go linebacker, and this is where Koromora finally does come off the board. He's your cover linebacker. He's a hybrid safety. He also could place John Abram, who is the worst rated safety in the league. So, I mean, if I need him to play a little safety, I can do that too. Give me Koromora and that glitzy Notre Dame helmet.
All right.
I'm not going to argue with that. Linebacker is honestly the biggest need for the Raiders on this draft board. They had probably the worst linebacking core in the league last year. So adding a guy like Koromora, who is so versatile, who is a smart player when it comes to reading plays before the ball snaps. And also it will revitalize a suffering defense, and that is just music to the tune of John Gruden.
Absolutely. 30th last season in third down percentage allowed. 30th. That ain't good. That ain't going to get it done.
Oop. No complaints from here. All right. So now we're going to 18th. And that pick belongs to the Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins.
All right.
That'd be me.
Well, you're on the clock.
Well, so with Miami, look, the defense is solid, is starting to become a solid unit, albeit they do still need some fixes, particularly at linebacker. But the top two linebackers have already been taken off the board with Parsons and with Owusu Koromora. So there is still depth at linebacker in this draft. But like I said, you still need to surround Tua Tagovailoa with actual weapons around him. And with all due respect, the 5 running backs on the team's roster is horrendous. Salvon Ahmed, Matt Breida, Myles Gaskin, Patrick Laird, DeAndre Washington, none of these are RB1. And while the league is now starting to operate more out of a running back by committee rotation, there is still need for a number 1 running back in this league. You can't deny guys like Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey. There are still teams that can still succeed with a number 1 back. So, with that being said, I think the Dolphins are going to be the team that takes the first running back off the board here, and it will not be an Alabama reunion, but instead it will be a Clemson-Alabama combo with Travis Etienne being taken 18th overall by the Miami Dolphins.
Interesting.
I want you to know that hurt me. That hurt me at my core.
Look, Naji is a great power back who can catch and has great speed when he takes off into the second level. But Travis Etienne is a perfect, well-rounded overall offensive skill player. Okay, you can put him in the slot, you can put him out of the back, you can even line him up on the outside and in punt return. He is an overall versatile running back, much more than I can say Naji is. And I still think that Naji will be taken late first, early second, but Etienne is RB1 in this league, in this draft.
Oh, that's fair. Personally, I would have went Naji Harris because their running back room is so heavy. They've got 5 guys. I'm sure they're going to cut it down to maybe 3, not including who they're picking up now. And I feel like the combination between the power back that Naji Harris is and somebody like Matt Breida, who is a speed guy, I feel like that, or Gaskin, I feel like that combination of the true power back and a speedy guy to slip in and out of your sets would have been better for them. Especially because we know that Tua and Harris do have familiarity with each other. Yeah. I feel like that he'd feel comfortable knowing that Harris has that ball and can get him that 2-3 yards he needs to extend those drives. But I'm not upset with ETN being picked because he's a tremendous running back.
Yeah, both these guys I think are right at the same level. I think, I agree with you. I think I would have gone Harris there too for the compliment and for the power back. But what I will say is, dude, if both the Alabama wide receivers say they like Mac Jones over Tua, how do we know Najee Harris doesn't either? So that's fair. So that's a question mark. for the Dolphins to figure out. That's not my problem. So
if you really think about it, like the Etienne Harris debate is a lot like the Wilson Fields debate. Who's truly like the one that's better over the others? Similar in terms of play style and ability, and in praise by the football community. But which one can you take?
Let's just hope it's not the Peyton Manning Ryan Leaf debate.
Oh God!
Oh my gosh!
or the Jameis Winston Marcus Mariota debate.
Hey, nobody won that one.
No one.
No,
won.
That's
what I'm saying. We need someone to win this one. The only good ever off-season transaction that benefited both parties was Stephon Diggs for a first-round pick between the Buffalo Bills and the Minnesota Vikings because Minnesota got Justin Jefferson. So.
That's true. I will say in the Mariota Winston argument, one of them is in the record books for having 5,000 yards in a season, regardless of how he got it. A lot of it was garbage time, but got there.
He's also going to have his own 30 for 30 for throwing 30 for 30.
Exactly. That's true.
That's a good point.
All right, 19. Yeah, that's Washington football team. Man, this is tough because their biggest need they weren't high enough in order for them to get one of those top quarterbacks. So
let's assume they get Teddy Bridgewater or Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm under the impression that they have figured out their quarterback situation in free agency.
For real.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. In that case, I'm not a fan of their wide receiver room outside of Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is probably their only consistent wide receiver that they have. So, however, even so, then I still think there's plenty of, a couple of guys who can go day two to fill that room. So with this, I'm going to go offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. Shore up that offensive line.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, that's they have one of the worst offensive lines in football. That whole division, honestly, the whole NFC East, if every one of them took an offensive lineman in the first round, I don't think anybody can argue that decision. Because the fact that the Washington football team made it to the playoffs at 7-9 is honestly just abysmal.
And Darrisaw could slide in because Sheriff is a free agent. If they don't retrain him, he can slide right in there and play some guard if he needs to. He could flip out to left tackle if necessary. Absolutely great pick. I think he's a plug-and-play guy who plays for them for the next 15 years.
Yes. See, NFC East fans, I didn't screw you guys up.
It's all a matter of whether or not Washington can bring back Brandon Scherf. Because that offensive line did its best with what it had. Brandon Scherf clearly is the better player on that whole unit. So
absolutely,
if you can reassure the outside with Christian Darrisaw, it's very ideal. But it's all hinging on to whether or not they can actually even bring back Brandon Scherf. And then
if they know what's good for them, whatever Brandon is asking for, just pay it. Just pay it. Make sure he comes back. Make sure you have that consistency on your line. That is one of the units where you need to have consistency. You cannot just go year in and year out picking and plugging guys in. You need to have a unit that gets comfortable with each other, pass blocking.
Yeah, after Joe Theismann, after RG3, after Alex Smith, you can't play with offensive linemen, especially
you cannot. You have. I think they've gone through the second most quarterbacks behind the Browns, and that is they can't afford that if they want to continue going forward. And I don't think Ron Rivera would sit around and allow that to be the continuing trend.
Praise be to Ron Rivera. I'm sorry, I love
amazing coach. I'm glad that he got over his cancer, and I'm glad he's still with this team.
And they're sitting with the sixth most salary cap money. They're going to be fine. Yeah, I think you make sure and you get a guy like that, and you build up that depth. Absolutely.
But I will say, I love Washington as a team. I hate the person that owns it. That is all.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right, now the 20th pick. The Chicago Bears are on the clock. They finally get a first-round pick after the whole Khalil Mack trade. So,
Yeah,
Shane,
the Bears are another one of those teams that perpetually bite themselves or shoot themselves in the foot, I should say. They have the weirdest quarterback situation I've seen in a long time with Nick Foles' heavy contract, and then their issues with Foles or whatever. I think they sort out, or at least attempt to sort out, whatever they're going to plan to do in that regards in free agency or in training camp. I don't think their quarterback room has anything to do with this draft. I think their next biggest need, they need a skill position. They need a wide receiver because Allen Robinson cannot pick up the whole load of this team. Outside of Allen Robinson, I watch the NFC North football, and I can't readily think of anybody. Riley Ridley has not lived up to the expectations that they thought he would, like his older brother.
And Anthony Miller hasn't done a good job either.
Anthony Miller, it happens, and I get it that those guys couldn't. They haven't reached that part yet. So I think they go Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. I think he's the guy they want. He's a bigger receiver. He knows how to. I think of all the guys we've talked about so far, we've talked about most of their separation ability. Bateman is a guy who can play through contact, and that's cool. That's what you want at the NFL level. You want a guy who can bump up with these corners and these safeties and still make the play. And I think his size and ability, his route running, that's what they need in Chicago.
All right, 2 questions. One, first of all, Bateman is 100% Allen Robinson part due, right?
That's true.
It's exactly my comp. 2, are you franchise tagging Allen Robinson?
Absolutely. He's not leaving. He has to stay.
With 2 guys that are the same guy.
If that's the case, sorry.
I have no issues with them having similar comps. If you just have to work. They'd have to work through that. It's more of, okay, I know exactly what both guys are giving me. If they're one-on-one is on each side of the field, I feel like both of their abilities to play through contact allows that mid to deep range of throws. I can trust either one of them to go out and fight for the ball. And especially in a colder division, they're going to be playing in a lot of rain, a lot of snow. Guys who can go and fight for it and hold on to the ball are valued up in the North.
Absolutely.
I would have honestly thought Kadarius Toney would have been this pick right here.
Yeah, I didn't want to go Toney only because I still have questions about him personally. I've been reading the comps for him, and they put him in a Percy Harvin kind of comparison. And they don't know whether he's gonna live,
the Florida guy.
if he's gonna flame out kind of like Percy, or if he can use that rare skill set that he has and actually become a top flight receiver. So I went with the safer of the 2, and I thought Bateman was the safer choice there.
The injury, the concerns, the off-field concerns, the fact that he didn't run routes. Most of the yards he got at Florida was bubble screens, was handoffs, was all this kind of gadgety stuff. That works to an extent, but if I want a gadget guy, he's a second rounder for me. Absolutely,
you're absolutely right. And this Bateman has shown that he will go and he will fight. He will make these cuts, and he's very intelligent, and that's what you need. You need an intelligent guy to go out there and make the right decision especially if he gets bumped off of his route.
My only question is, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Go
on. All right. I'm just thinking more versatility in the pass-catching game, all right? Allen Robinson is a physical 50-50 ball wide receiver who runs great routes down the middle. Toney being a quick, speedy on the outside can go for those deep balls when you need him to. So it's all about versatility, and especially with what the head coach Nagy can do with that offense if he does anything at all, if he comes out of that stagnant play calling approach that he had last year.
Juan, you're exactly right.
If I was going to go for a speedster, if I was going to go for a speedster to give me that versatility, I would have had to go Terrace Marshall. But I don't think Terrace Marshall is a day one is a first round guy. I think he's a second round. He's a second round. I don't think I'd reach for him in the first round. That's a thing for me.
My only question isn't talking about the versatility. 100% is that if I'm getting Rashad Bateman and I think he's Allen Robinson, then now I'm going to franchise tag Robinson and trade him to get my quarterback.
Yeah. That's pretty safe.
I'm trading Allen Robinson to the Jets for Darnold and whatever and some picks.
Darnold in that system, and especially if Nagy actually has someone he can work with, that can actually work.
Agreed.
Now if only they can figure out what to do to get out of Foles' contract.
As a great man in Dallas once said, Foles isn't an option. The great Jerry Jones.
All right. And with 21. All right. And with the 21st pick, the Indianapolis Colts are on the board. And with this pick, and it's an 11-5 playoff team. They're really solid roster. They solidified, their quarterback going forward, the Frank Reich, Carson Wentz reunion. However, Anthony Costanzo did retire, so that's a major blow to the offensive line. You still got your anchor in Quentin Nelson, but you need to replace, that offensive tackle spot. So with this pick, I'm gonna go. Might be a little reach, but I'm gonna go Jalen Mayfield from Michigan.
Ooh, he's polarizing.
Okay.
Juan, go first.
Okay. I'm not mad at that. I think I would have went edge here. I would have gotten a pass rusher because that division is one of those that they don't have a ton of great pass rushers right now. They've got a couple, but no one really stands out for me just yet.
And Justin's a free agent.
Yeah, and I think you wanna start developing your guys that can pressure the quarterback. But that's a safe pick for the Colts, and as we've seen in the past, because of what happened with Andrew Luck being beaten up so badly and to force him into retirement, essentially, having more linemen who are versatile, can move around, that's not a problem. Carson Wentz needs to be protected if that's the guy you want to have going forward. So this was a safe pick.
I like the position you picked. I don't like who you picked. I don't actually have Jalen Mayfield rated that high. With that pick, this is kind of, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, depending on who agrees with me here. I would have taken Dylan Radness, the NDSU offensive tackle, to be honest.
Interesting.
I like Radness a lot more in terms of technique. I played offensive line in high school, and I studied a lot of it when I was in Germany for a year. And with Radness, he has very good feet, very good technique when it comes to the outside protection.
At the Senior Bowl, he was fantastic.
Exactly. So honestly, I wouldn't want to see Dylan Radness here instead. But Mayfield could be a good comp too. I just have a bit of a concern with his run blocking abilities.
My thought is, my next offensive tackle is Sam Cosby out of Texas. Again,
that's who I had.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I would have gone there. I think he's more of a left tackle. I think Mayfield's more of a right for me. I don't know that he could play left tackle in the NFL. But to Shane's point too, you look at the pass rushers. We have not drafted a pass rusher yet in this entire mock. All of them are there. Kwity Paye is there, and
Rossi is there.
Phillips is there. Depending on who you like, Ojulari, all those guys. So I think this pick for me would have been Kwity Paye, and I would have gone O-line in the second or try to fill it through free agency.
Yep, that's how I would have went.
But I agree. If you wanted to go O tackle here, I think Mayfield's a pretty good pick. Like I said, I like Sam Cosby more, but I don't like Sam Cosby that much either. So
yeah. All right, and now with the 22nd pick, the Tennessee Titans are on the board, and this is where you're going to see, the first, pass rusher taken, because the biggest issue for Tennessee's defense last year is pass rushing. So I'm going to go Greg Rossiu from Miami.
Greg Rousseau.
Greg Rousseau.
Okay, I maybe I'm gonna call my feelings on this pick recency bias. I would have went Kwity Paye. I had tape on him last year. I've seen more of him. Greg Rousseau is still too raw to me. I mean, we only have his freshman tape, and then he sat out with the COVID season, which is perfectly understandable. I just think that he's too raw to have been the first one for me.
And his
especially for a team that is right now. What did they finish last season? 12-4, something like that. They are a contending. Okay, they're 11-5. They're a contending team right now, is what I'm saying. And Rousseau's rawness, I don't know how I feel about it. I want a guy. Obviously they weren't going to get a Chase Young here, but I want a guy who is playing day one. And with their, I don't know if they're bringing back to Javion Clowney, who has never played up. Personally, he's never played up to his skill set. So whoever's coming in is taking that spot, and I want to make sure that on day one, I want to envision this rookie is a 10 sack guy this season. Chances are that's not going to happen, but I want to envision that that's what I see, and I don't see that with Rousseau. I see that more with Kwity Paye, but that's because I've seen more of Kwity Paye. I haven't seen as much from Gregory Rousseau.
I would have honestly wanted to go offensive line here again, because remember last year when the Titans drafted Isaiah Wilson to be their replacement for Jack Conklin after he went to the Browns, and then Isaiah Wilson kind of became not only just absent from the team whatsoever, but kind of just like a detriment to team morale in general.
True that.
You have to address the sins of last year, and you need to do it early in the first round. I don't know who you're going to take. I haven't had enough time to analyze what are the linemen that are still left in this draft. But you need an offensive tackle if you want to keep that consistent running game with Derrick Henry going.
Honestly,
it would have been safe if they had an offensive tackle here, because I don't know how long ago I read this, but I did read something saying that Isaiah Wilson did say he was done playing football as a Titan. So I don't know if that is
right
a potential trade situation, if they cut him, whatever the case may be. But it seems like things have soured with him in the organization.
Honestly, if you'd taken these last two picks and flipped them, I'd be happier with it. I'd be happier with Rousseau to the Indy. I'd be happier with Mayfield to the Titans to play that right tackle spot.
Yeah.
Let me say this.
Both in the same division.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, just got Swift. Okay, so first, let's just talk edge rushers. Since our first edge rusher went off the board, how do you guys have the top five? Obviously these guys are way different. Some are 4-3, some are 3-4. Like, what are your top five guys, just kind of in order, real quick? Juan, you start.
I mean, I do have this up at number one, but then I have Jalen Phillips at 2.
Yes.
I have
my phone died just now.
Awesome.
I was going to tell you.
Tyron at 4.
I plugged it.
And Jason Owe at 5.
That's all. That's solid. Like I said, I have that. I have Kwity Paye 1, Jalen Phillips 2. Dude, I love Azeez Ojulari, and he's a guy that I absolutely would have here for Tennessee. And as a Jets fan, if I could make the next pick for pick 23, which is not my pick, but man, Ojulari, I would sprint to the front of the room for that dude, because man, he is a beast of a pass rusher. The Jalen Phillips has the concussion issues, and you just don't know. And then Rousseau, and then Owe for me. So, that's just how I have them. I think Paye and Rousseau are more of 4-3 DNs who can slide inside and do their best work. I think for the Titans who are playing that 3-4, I want to get off the edge guy. And like I said, Phillips, if I can clear him medically, and if not, Ojulari is my absolute guy.
All right. And speaking of the Jets, Juan, you're on the clock with the 23rd pick.
So I'm not gonna lie, I did consider the edge rusher to be here at 23, but then once I've started analyzing a lot of this draft class, there's gonna be edge rushers in the second or third rounds that we can pick from, man. So I'm not too overtly worried about taking someone to rush the edge here.
And
However,
the Jets pick and 11 more picks, so yeah.
exactly. So I'm not too concerned about it. But, I believe there's an opportunity here to find playmakers, especially if we're having Justin Fields come in there. And if we want to see a return of Jets football where it was ground and pound and a good defense, I'm going to have to go running back here, and I'm taking Naji Harris out of Alabama at 23.
I'm in. I'm your Huckleberry. I'll take that all day.
Like we talked about with Naji, he's a power back. He's sturdy. He's quick at the second level, and not to mention he's tough. The guy has endured a lot of like on-field injuries, and he still stuck it out even in the national championship. So I love the toughness that Naji can exhibit here, and the offensive line for the Jets is repairable deeper in the draft as well as through free agency. So, given the opportunity, I can see the Jets carving out a good running game going into 2021 with Naji Harris as the lead back.
Right, and how long are we gonna keep dragging Frank Gore along to save our running game?
Yeah. I will say this: the one thing that would make me hesitate to take the running back this early for the Jets is they're going to that Shanahan system where you can plug in dudes named Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert and guys you've never heard of and turn them into 1,000-yard backs. And so that is my only question about spending the money and the draft capital when you have so many needs for the Jets. I think edge rusher there would be, but as you mentioned, we've only had one gone, and it's pick 23. I'm going to go to 34. Okay, cool. I could probably still get a guy that I like there. This, to me, is a spot where maybe I start looking at Kadarius Toney, as you'd mentioned earlier, or a guy like that who would be a playmaker type. Obviously, free agency is going to massively affect the Jets since they have a ton of money. But that, to me, is like I said, solid pick. You get an absolute just workhorse back, and you put them in that system and run that San Francisco system. Man, that's going to be lethal. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just broke the heart of the Steelers because I guarantee you they would have taken Naji Harris at 24.
With all due, I have a list of teams I really don't like. The Steelers top that list because I became a Jets fan during the 2010 season.
Oh yeah.
All right, and now we're going to go to pick number 23, which belongs to the Cleveland Browns.
Nope.
24.
24. We're the Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh.
Same division. You're good.
Okay.
Is that me or is that?
And
yeah, that's me. Oh my god!
I believe that's you, Juan. Yeah.
All
Wait,
right.
he's picking for a team he hates? That's not good.
The irony is palpable. But yeah, I think so with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they brought back. I can't believe they did it. They brought back Ben Roethlisberger for another season. And they lost their one of their top offensive linemen to retirement. Their center, one of the twins whose name is escaping me.
Pouncey.
Pouncey.
And Villanueva's free agent too, the tackle, and they don't have any money.
With the cap space they were able to free up with the restructured contract, they might be able to bring him back somehow. I don't know.
Maybe, it'll be tight.
I don't know about the hometown discount, but it could possibly work. With that being said, though, this might be the last shot at a Super Bowl championship that the Steelers are going to have going into 2021 with Big Ben. And to do that, you need to shore up the offensive line, and you need to find that Pouncey replacement. So I'm taking the best center in this draft. I'm taking Creed Humphrey out of OU.
Now, if you're Pittsburgh and you had the option and you want a center, so you've got Dickerson out of Alabama, you've got Humphrey, you could even have the Whitewater kid. You could trade down out of this pick, right, and let somebody else jump up and jump in this range.
I think more likely if they were to stay at this pick, I think Pittsburgh moves one of their guys that they already had on the team into center and possibly take one of the stronger linemen on the outside. And I think this is where Cosby would have went for me.
Agreed.
Yeah. Or honestly, you're losing Bud Dupree, so I would think they would also be in the market for a pass rusher as well.
But like I said, pass rusher is a deep class going into the late round, so they can find the pass rusher in there. And also, for me, I need a pure center. And with Humphrey coming in with the pedigree that he has, I can see Pro Bowl All Pro consideration with this kid. It's there.
Do you have him as a first rounder?
I do have him as a first rounder. Yeah.
Interesting. See, for me, he's that early second. He's that mid or late first, early second. So like it's a little bit of a reach here, but I mean I could definitely see it. Like I said, I think if Pittsburgh wanted to trade down and do this, I think that might fit a little better. But we're not trading, so.
Offensive line is three things.
Yeah.
It's technique, it's durability, and it's intelligence. And from what I've seen Humphrey, especially with the tape I've studied with him right before the Senior Bowl, he's got all three in spades.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Now the 25th pick.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Oh, well, that's me.
That's you.
All right. Oh, snap. Let me get ready. All right. I got my quarterback. I got Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I don't need to get a wide receiver because they got several good young prospects. Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook. So I don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to go defense because
Cole's a free agent, but you got Chark and LaVisca, Chenault.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all right.
You don't like need Keelan Cole though.
Yeah.
I mean, he's expendable as a wide receiver.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I'm going to need to rebuild that defense, particularly on the defensive line, to bring back Jacksonville. So this is where I'm going to draft Kenny Payne from Michigan.
Okay.
Solid.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Putting him opposite of Josh Allen, if you can get Josh Allen healthy again, a guy who can slide inside and rush. I think dude, if Quiddy Pay makes it to 25, I think we've got a story.
I mean, I like it. I know that Jacksonville did its best work when the defense was top 5. So bringing him in, bringing this Michigan product in was great. I don't know if there's any other offensive linemen to shore up here. I think Jacksonville, since they have so much money to work with, will shore up the offensive line in free agency. So I like where you went with it.
Yeah, they have the most cap space going into free agency. So
yeah,
and not to mention like during the mid rounds, it's perfect to rebuild that interior offensive line as well. If you want to make sure you get protection for Trevor Lawrence, but at this point, with these pass rushers, with them falling the way they is, at this point you're picking best player available and he's the best pass rusher on the board. So
absolutely.
I think other options here, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about how desperate they are for safety. I don't have a safety worthy of here. I mean, Merrick, the kid out of TCU, but I think you might be able to get him, in 8 more picks. And so you can go safety later. And then, this might be the first time where we talk defensive tackle the entire first round.
Yeah.
And, if you want to go Armore, I think that guy is the guy to stop the run and do that type of thing. But, I said, I mean, if Quiddy Pay falls this far, I think you're taking best player available. BPA is always a good way to go.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
All right. At now 26, which is now the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland.
And that'll be me.
I felt like I took Cleveland's pick.
Huh?
I felt like I took
what?
Cleveland's pick, but so I felt like I took Cleveland's pick.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. I don't think so. I don't think you did. I think Cleveland, it's losing Olivier Vernon to free agency, but he's an aging pass rusher as it is. Free agency for pass rusher especially isn't too bad to work with if they can even lure in a premier pass rusher like Von Miller out from Denver into Cleveland for a contention. It could possibly work. So with that being said, I want to reassure the middle of that defensive line. I want to be able to have the top rushing defense in the league, let alone in the division. And because let's face it, the AFC North is a run heavy conference with with Joe Mixon and the Bengals, with the Steelers trying to go back to the rushing ways that they had prior to 2020, and with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. So
Absolutely.
if you want to win that, you have to win down the middle in the trenches, and that's why I'm having the Browns take Levy on Wuzuriki, the Washington defensive tackle.
Wow.
Whoa.
Above Barmore, huh?
I didn't see that.
Levi
coming.
Wow, I didn't see that either. I thought the way you were talking, like Barmore was going to be the pick.
Yeah, me too.
For me, like I said, reassure the front line. Make sure that you can stuff the run down the middle. And with Levy, he's a little short for his size as a defensive tackle. But he does a good job at shutting the block and making this and causing disruption in the backfield. And I don't need him to do much. He doesn't have to be the pass rusher that Cleveland needs. He just has to be able to shut down the run.
I mean, he's a penetrator. He's a pass rusher. He's 290 pounds. You know, some people talk the Aaron Donald comp. I mean, let's tap the brakes. But he does have that ability. And, you know, they're in Washington. He's catching triple teams every play because, you know, he's the only guy they had.
Yeah.
I mean, I love him as a player. I love him. Like, I think he's a guy that I know because I'm here in Dallas. He's a guy I know the Cowboys are absolutely targeting in that second round. Because that's kind of where I think he should fall.
Yeah.
But if Barmore's still there and you know all that, but I mean that's the thing is like you would be replacing Larry Ogunjobi on that team and he would be a good fit there. So yeah, interesting pick there. Onwuzurike, there's the correct pronunciation. There you go.
Yeah.
Onwuzurike.
I don't mind the pick. It fills a need, which they need. They need some help to alleviate Myles Garrett. So I like the pick. It's a solid pick. It's a safe pick. And considering what you're going up against in the North, where you need somebody to help control the trenches, you can do worse.
We're at
All right.
6.7.
Yes.
I was going to say, who's your? Can we get a quick board look of who you've got as the top players on your board right now?
I don't really have a board. I just have kind of have a list of names here. But yeah, no, I kind of ran out of my board.
All right.
All right. Well, I got Kyle Trask. I'm kidding.
I would throw my sunflower seeds at you if you had Kyle Trask.
Yeah, I'm just looking down my list.
But no, yeah. Still got Joseph Osai. I like Rondell Moore from Purdue. I really like him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at obviously Jalen Phillips and Ojulari as edge rushers. You still have Kadarius Toney and Rondell Moore in that mix.
Yeah.
Zaven Collins, the Tulsa linebacker, is on the board still.
Yes.
And then, yeah, I think at that point you're kind of like, I think we kind of, and then Barmore. And then that kind of kills that tier of talent. So we've got 6 picks left and 5 players on the top tier. So let's see what happens.
All right. So the Browns pick. So next will be the Ravens.
That's
probably you.
Oh yeah.
It is. All right. Oh, in that case, this is perfect. Then we just talked about it. I like Baltimore's roster a lot. I like especially what they did last year. You got yourself now a legitimate running back in J.K. Dobbins. I like the Patrick Queen pick. So the only real hole you have left on this roster is the wide receiver department. Hollywood Brown's not a number one guy. He's not. He's a complimentary guy. Willie Snead's a slot. Mark Andrews, he's a really solid tight end, but he's not in that tier like a Darren Waller, George Kittle, or a Travis Kelce. So you need to get that physical wide receiver for Lamar Jackson. Just throw that ball to and just he just comes down with it. So with this pick, I'm gonna go Rondell Moore from Purdue.
Okay.
Nice. I could definitely see that, adding more weapons for Lamar Jackson. I could also see edge rusher here with, because Judon and Yannick are both free agents. So I think I could go. I think you could go either way with that on that for sure.
Definitely. They need those weapons around Lamar. Their wide receiver roster is definitely not they're not where they need to be a contending team right now, despite the fact that they are contending because, they finished like second. Did they finish second or first in their division? I think they finished second.
Baltimore?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
They finished
second.
second.
They finished
won
second.
the division over Cleveland.
Oh, they won. Okay, yeah. So they're going to finish at the top
Oh
of
no,
the division.
Pittsburgh won the. No, Pittsburgh won the North.
Yeah.
What? No,
Pittsburgh won the North.
No, I think the Pittsburgh slide at the end of the season knocked them out of first.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, and I believe that Pittsburgh is going to be in a similar situation. No offense to that organization, but them re-signing Big Ben and where they're at with the rest of that roster, I don't see them being the top guys at the end of the year again. So this pick was a good pick. They need a guy. They need a consistent receiver, somebody who can emerge to be a number one, and I think that he has the potential to be that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I have no problem with this pick. They needed a big body receiver to complement Hollywood Brown to move him into a speedy on the inside. I just hope that, Greg Roman can adjust the offense a little bit more to give Lamar more passing opportunities. Yeah, what's up?
We do know Rashad Bateman went pick 20 to Chicago, right?
Yeah, there's an error here saying that Bateman just went at 27.
Yeah, Bateman can't go at 27 because I thought you said Rondell Moore.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I did. I did say Rondell Moore. My bad.
Okay, cool. Rondell Moore's not big. Awesome. Got it. When he said big guy, it triggered. I was like, wait a minute. Who are we talking about? Okay, cool.
Oh, either way, listen, my bad. Either way, Lamar needs weapons. Rondell Moore at 27 is solid.
Love it. All right. That put me on the clock?
Yeah. 28. So that would be the Saints.
Yes. The New Orleans Saints. Well, I have a wealth of riches. Again, Rondell Moore was not in my first-round grade. So I'm looking at the board, and I'm looking at 5 guys that I've got first-round grades on. And honestly, all of these guys kind of fit a need. Trey Hendrickson's a free agent with the Saints. Obviously, I'm in salary cap hell and having to cut everybody. Sheldon Rankins is a free agent. Alex Anzalone is a free agent on that defense. Marcus Williams, the safety, is a free agent on that defense. And Malcolm Jenkins on the other side is an absolute disaster. What at this point in his career? So the offense, I think, will be fine. I don't know what obviously, I'm probably basically going to run Taysom Hill and figure that out on offense. That just seems what's going to happen. And so
if they don't start Jameis Winston, I think they're lost.
Jameis is free.
Jameis is free.
They not be able to get him back.
Oh, is he? You don't think he's coming back?
I mean, dude, the guy's going to get paid. Quarterbacks are in need. Saints ain't got no money.
That's true.
So what I would say is with the pass rush, I've still got Marcus Davenport. I could probably fill the hole for Trey Hendrickson. So I feel pretty good there. I think if the board wasn't the way that it was, I would be looking safety here, and Trey and Merrick out of TCU would be my pick. But since I'm looking at this board and I'm seeing all of this talent that's still falling to me, man, let me go ahead and try to stop the run. I'm going to go ahead and take Christian Barmore right here because if that dude's available, absolutely get me a big body in the middle. I can cut Malcolm Brown and slam that dude right in the middle, and let's stop the run game.
Jeff, you beat me up, Jeff. You beat me up because I was hoping you let him slide one more. I was hoping you let him slide one more because if he's sitting there at 29, if the Packers passed on him, I would absolutely lose my shit.
They have
so much.
I tell you what, we have done this whole draft just like a real draft, where just before a pick goes, the team on the clock goes.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I still remember this is like the biggest draft WTF for me. It was the year TJ Watt was drafted, and the Packers traded down with the Browns while
yeah.
TJ Watt was sitting on the board, and then the Steelers got him with the next pick. And I was just sitting there flabbergasted when we needed a linebacker. I was like, what do you, I couldn't fathom their
Tell me about
mindset
that.
at that
I
point.
was with the Cowboys. They took Taco over TJ.
Man, I
What's
couldn't.
wrong with that?
My mind was so blown because the guy they take with the pick that they traded down for is the guy I'm about to replace now with this pick coming up for the Packers. And this is a no-brainer. Asante Samuel Jr. We need him. Kevin King was embarrassing during that playoff game, getting burned by Scotty Miller.
Oh yeah.
Scotty Miller. I've never even heard of that guy before that playoff game.
Yeah.
And for him to absolutely shred our secondary is embarrassing. We have other needs, like we need to refill up our defensive line because outside of Kenny Clark, the rest of those interior defensive linemen are very, very suspect. I don't know if Kiki Kingsley's coming back. Dean Lowry is on the question for being a cap casualty. So, yeah.
What would you think about taking a linebacker there, like David Collins at a Dolphins?
I wouldn't be mad at.
I wouldn't say that.
Yep.
I wouldn't be mad at that either. Right, because our inside line, we just cut Christian Kirksey, so we definitely do need another interior linebacker. But I think that's either that'll be addressed later in the draft or they're going to try and address it in free agency again because they do enjoy free agent veteran linebackers. They like to look for those guys who have a bit more polish. And I think if they're going to go linebacker, it would be Cox in the second round because I think he'll be sitting there for our second round pick. So here, I gotta take Asante Samuel. That secondary needs help. Jair Alexander is on an island by himself out there, and he cannot cover the whole field. And these other guys are not keeping up their end of the bargain.
Not a bad pick. I like it. All right,
I like it too.
Buffalo.
All right, and now 29, Buffalo.
30.
Juan, what you got for us?
Well, look, there isn't a lot of weaknesses, quote unquote, that you can point out on Baltimore's roster. They were by far one of the more well-rounded teams in 2020 last year, especially near down the stretch where they went on I think it was an 8-game win streak.
Mm-hmm.
But there are still issues that they have to address, particularly on the offensive line. And the reason I say that is because while Josh Allen played at a tremendous level, an MVP caliber level,
absolutely,
there was no rushing game. You had a good lightning and thunder 1-2 punch combo of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary to work with, but you couldn't get them out in open space enough to have a decent running game to work with. So I'd say at pick 30, the Buffalo Bills will take Alabama interior offensive lineman Landon Dickerson and then kick him in to right guard.
Okay. I like that. That's not bad at all.
Another O lineman going high. Another center off the board for you. You obviously you have Humphrey over and Dickerson over Wyatt Davis.
I put Dickerson over because I see him having more versatility within the interior than Creed did. Creed was a pure center through and through. Dickerson, you can move to either guard position or keep him at center. And with the Bills needing much more interior help, I think at right guard could be much more beneficial for him there.
Why not Wyatt Davis then?
I don't know. Just like I said, like I mentioned earlier, it's more just a feeling. You know, it's just more of a feeling.
I definitely understand that. That's definitely how I was feeling about the last whole pick. Again, if Barmore had fell to 29, regardless of how I felt about my secondary, that guy right there would have been my pick absolutely because he's a big guy. He's 315 pounds, 6'4". He's a statue. He's gonna be tall. He's gonna be right there fighting alongside Kenny Clark if that could have happened. And that's what they need. They need to be able to hold up those linemen in the middle so that guys like Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, if he's still around, can sack the quarterback.
All right. And we got our, which belongs to the Super Bowl matchup between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. The Kansas City Chiefs are now on the clock with the 31st pick. And
all right,
these are back-to-back for you, Jeff, so take the floor.
All right, I got the last two picks of this draft here. Start with the Chiefs. I could use some pass rusher opposite Frank Clark. I could use a little help maybe at the linebacker spot, which both are available, but I think that O-line has absolutely got to be addressed. I think, Eric Fisher, with the injuries last year, they lose Mitchell Schwartz. I honestly, I think Dickerson would have been a real possibility here, or Creed Humphrey for either one of those, as we've kind of picked over the interior offensive lineman spots. But since he's there and still available, I'm going to take Sam Cosby out of Texas, and I will slide him inside if I need to, or do something with that. Maybe slide Mitchell Schwartz is getting up there in years. Maybe I slide him inside. But, yeah, I think I definitely go O-line for the Chiefs, try to protect Patrick Mahomes. And finally, the 32nd pick and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've only got one franchise tag, and I'm either going to use it on wide receiver, and I'll ask you boys this. Would you use it on Godwin, or would you use it on Shaq Barrett?
Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett.
Interesting.
Shaq.
I think, and then, I also could use some interior if I lose Levante David, potentially as well. So, while I agree with you on Shaq Barrett, I think maybe because the way the board is broken out, and maybe I want to replace Jason Pierre-Paul, man, I'm looking at those pass rushers, and I've got to take one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and take Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia with the last pick in the first round as a guy who can just come screaming off the edge and make that Tampa Bay defense dangerous.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think Ojulari or Osei would have been either or for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at that slot, so that's a good pick.
I think Jalen Phillips is in that potential as well. Like I said, if he can clear the concussion stuff.
Yeah,
I think Jalen Phillips is the best pass rusher in this draft, period. Yeah. But the concussions worry.
Yeah, concussions are always going to be what knocks guys down 2-3 rounds, honestly.
Exactly.
So,
especially in this year without combines, without.
Yeah, and then now it becomes we got this guy in the third, and he's a gem because he still has his first round talent. We were just worried about these injuries, and now they're not even a thing to worry about. It could break either way.
And we were talking about with the Jets, like if I'm picking 2 picks later and Jalen Phillips is there, dude, I'd dance to the front of the room.
Mm-hmm.
I like your prioritizing of like how you're building this roster, especially because the age is more focused in the pass rushing for Tampa Bay. Like you said, letting JPP go. What you say you wouldn't tag Shaq Barrett? That means you tag Godwin, right?
Yeah.
All right. So like you put the right priority there and bringing in Azeez Ojulari to replace the aging pass rush. It works well and could boast and it boasts a good possible route for Tampa to make a repeat appearance. So I like that pick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there we go.
Also, I know this is a football draft show, but some breaking news: Blake Griffin went to the Nets.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's super team.
Oh man.
Yeah. Right. Real quick before we go, what pick do you believe that should be a first round pick, but you're surprised you didn't see go to the first round at all? Just on this mock draft alone.
Boys?
I'll let y'all go first.
I mean, for me, it is Jalen Phillips, I think. I think that's a strong possibility. I think the other one for me is Trayvon Merrick, the safety out of TCU. He's easily the best safety in this draft by a million
That's
miles.
that's who I was going. I had him originally in that early 20s area. I figured one of like maybe the Raiders would have taken the shot for him, but then it ends up being what's else is sitting on the board, and can we risk him going down? But as the difference between him and the next safety is, in my opinion, 2 rounds. Like he's a first round talent, and then I don't see another safety again until the 3rd or 4th round.
Agreed.
Honestly, for me, it was linebacker Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. Mainly because like he's a very underrated player in this draft, especially. He's a diamond in the rough that teams can look at. I kind of wanted to take him with the Bills on the possibility that Matt Milano wouldn't come back to the team should he go into free agency. But I stuck offensive line instead on the hope that Milano could work on a decent deal with Buffalo. And yeah.
For sure.
I also had Bolton possibly going to. He was another one of those. He could have went to my Packers there at 29, but I just feel like that's after watching that playoff game, like the year prior, if this was a year earlier, this is the 2020 draft, Bolton would have been my guy because we saw how abysmal we did against the run. But then we addressed that, or I believe the team realized how important stopping the run was, and they worked on that. But then our secondary became abysmal, at least deep in the playoffs. So addressing that secondary was more important to me than addressing the front 7 and adding more linebackers up front.
Yeah. Honestly, saving Collins for me, I got to agree with Juan. I thought, especially with these last 4 picks, all these teams in the NFC Champ in the conference title games, I thought Zaven Collins would have been an ideal fit for all of them, particularly for me, Tampa Bay, because Levante Davis is going to be a free agent, so you're going to be able to slide him in with Devin White. So then that way, that defense doesn't skip a beat at all. Yeah,
that was my other consideration there, and I think the question would be the depth at the off-ball linebackers in the draft. There's not a whole lot of stars, but I think there are a lot of guys in that 3rd and 4th round that can kind of fill that role and all of that, and allow Devin White to be a little bit more of that playmaker. So yeah, all right,
yeah,
love it, boys. Good job.
And also one last, we did it, guys. And real quick, what is a let's just say day 3 pick? What's a day 3 pick that you really feel like if the team gets him, they got like a diamond in the rough?
My guy from Syracuse, Ife Melifonwu, man, if he drops that low, I don't think he will. I think he'll be a late day 2, probably around the late 3rd round. But if he makes it to the 4th, that's a steal for a corner. He's big for a corner, especially. I think 6'2". You saw him down at the Senior Bowl against Des Fitzpatrick, how he was able to compete with a tall, quick wide receiver. I gotta say, whoever gets that guy is gonna have a great tall defensive back to work with.
Day 3 guy.
Yeah.
I don't know who.
I got one. I got to rep the alma mater too. University of North Texas, Jalen Darden, 5'9", 170. Dude, the guy can fly around. He's going to be so much fun. I hope he gets a chance to return punts too. Savvy, quick, has got those moves that you want, and I think he's a guy that's going to sneak around, and somebody will snag him in the 5th, 6th round, and he's going to be a guy you'll see some highlight films out of. He might not be a star, but you'll definitely see a few highlights out of him.
Oh, I got one for you guys. Chuba Hubbard, the running back from Oklahoma State.
Love him.
I think he's going to get on somebody's roster, and he is going to impress the hell out of them. He's got the tools. He's got the tools. I think he's missing a few things. That's what's going to pull him down into that later, day 3, the round pick, maybe round 5, a realistic thing, because running backs are not super high value in this particular draft class.
Can I give you a day 2 guy that I'm really high on? That I think is borderline early 2nd.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, Amari Rodgers from Clemson, man. The guy's a veteran wideout by college football standards, so he's smart, he's strong, he's intelligent. Not to mention, his dad was a former competitor at quarterback against Tom Brady, T. Martin, and he's trained some of the best wide receivers that made it to the NFL today. And if you're growing under that tutelage, you have to have some sort of at least elitism in your blood. So I got to see that.
I just watched the tape on him, man. I love that kid. I hope that, I think he could be in the third round, and I think a team that's running that San Francisco system again, the Jets, as a guy who could just yak yard you to death, man.
Mm-hmm.
Get the ball and let him run. That he's fun.
Yeah. And a guy for me, I saw him down at the Senior Bowl, and Juan should already know who I'm talking about. Edge rusher Janarius Robinson from Florida State. I love this guy. 6'5", 266. And he reminds me a lot of another, Florida State product, Josh Sweat, in terms of just the weight, just his size and, his measurements and everything. But I feel like he's going to get on a roster. And even a limited staff, I feel like he's a good project player to have on your team.
My day two guy is Dylan Moses, the linebacker from Alabama. I think he's got a lot of good intangibles going into this. And I thought he prepared to have a really good season. He's gonna be in the middle of that field, and he's got good size and athleticism, standing at 6'3". And I think if you pick him up somewhere in the mid-second round, that's really high value for your team. Definitely at my Packers second pick, if they don't decide to take Cox, I would say Dylan Moses is a good second option for them.
One more for me is Ronnie Perkins, the edge out of Oklahoma. I think that's a guy who's going to go way higher than we think he will. I think, not a lot of people maybe know about him. I've seen him kind of rated all over the board. But, man, as an actual true 4-3 D end for some of those teams, I think that is a guy who absolutely goes maybe early in the second round and actually will be, I think, a really good player. I like him over a lot of the other pass rushers in the draft.
Absolutely.
Okay. And real quick, so 5 quarterbacks in our mock draft was taken in the first round. Who do you believe is that next quarterback that's going to be taken in this draft?
Let me see.
I'm going to go with Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M. We were there for the Senior Bowl when Kris and I, when we saw him play. He was surprisingly good for what he was able to put out there. All right, he not only won Offensive Player of the Game, but he's quick, he's tall, he's not too lanky, but he has a good arm. I just believe he needs to put more muscle on himself and a little bit more strength in his throwing arm, and he could be a pretty good backup quarterback, if not like a game manager for the right situation.
By the way, next year
good.
at the Senior Bowl, I'll have to run into you two guys, and we'll hang out for sure.
I'll be down for that.
Oh, absolutely.
My other one, I feel Kellen Mond would be the next best guy off, but I also think Kyle Trask is going to get a lot of traction leading up to the draft, and I have a feeling he's going to really impress the scouts at the combine. I can't tell you exactly why, but I just have a really good feeling about Kyle Trask's chances of jumping himself up into this draft.
My next quarterback off the board is going to be Davis Mills out of Stanford. Stanford quarterbacks, teams love him. He's going to interview really well. And in a season where we're not going to get that much contact, I think he's the guy that's going to jump off the board. His tape is mixed, but I think he's the kind of guy that a general manager or an offensive coordinator will fall in love with. And I think Davis Mills is the next guy off the board for me.
Okay, all right, for Mills, where do you see a fit for him?
I think a system honestly, like a backup to Indianapolis, a team that's pretty RPO heavy, a team that that kind of values that type of system. I could see him in LA as a backup to Stafford with the Rams. Something like that, something where you can get him moving a little bit. You can get, they can run those RPOs where he's having to make those decisions and using that brain. I think that's his best skill set, and I think that's where he would be best fit.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Definitely somebody who's going to be smart. He's going to learn a lot, and he'll eventually He might end up as a journeyman type quarterback, but he will see time under center. I can almost guarantee that.
They said he's he's a poor man's Sam Darnold kind of. He's got the movement, he's got the read and all that stuff, but he also has some really bad tape, and you got to just beat that out of him, basically.
Yeah,
I will ask, like, one of my friend from Notre Dame would kick me if I didn't ask. Ian Book, where could he fall, and what's his best fit?
For me, Ian Book is the kind of guy that if I'm sitting in, let's say, the 5th round, and I need a backup quarterback for an established guy, dude, Ian Book has all of the intangibles. People love playing for him. He works hard. He's smart with the ball. He's not great, but if I could draft him and let him be my backup for 10 years and let him chase Daniel his way through the league, hell yeah, I'm all about that. Like, I think that's exactly what that dude is he's a really smart backup guy that you don't want starting, but you definitely want on your roster.
Yeah, he's that practice squad. He's that practice squad arm who, if you're absolutely, you've already had 2 guys injured and you need somebody to step in, he'll manage the team for you, but he's definitely not going to be your first, like, hey, I need you to start, or you're my primary backup. He's definitely in that 3-4 slot on your roster.
All right.
Yeah. Sounds like a perfect pick for John Elway.
He's too short for John Elway.
Anyway, you're right. Kyle Trask might be more of a speed.
There you go.
All right. Once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to our first our mock draft 1.0. I want to thank Juan. I want to thank Jeff. I want to thank Shane for joining me and conducting all of this.
Hey, let's do it again.
You guys let me know if we can do this again.
I'll be down for that. I'm in the middle of the moving process right now to Milwaukee, but I can carve out a couple hours for this again.
Yeah, this has been good.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to do a mock draft 2.0, post draft. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
All right,
boys. Thank you.
All right, no problem. This has been our mock draft. See you.